believe we're cooking.
All right,
How's things?
good.
Since this morning.
Right, since this morning, I mostly just messed with trying to get a curtain up behind me and failed, or at least failed to come up with something that I like the way it looks. So, be browsing Etsy for tapestries.
Ooh, tapestry's not a bad idea.
Yeah, yeah. Also took me forever to find my random posters that I've kept from all the fun fantasy game magazines I've subscribed to over the years. That's where a couple of those came from.
Tight.
Yeah, so I can at least check one thing off my to-do list about the room here. Um, yeah, just been
That's
dealing
about
with a bunch of
it.
cleanup. I put another code change in for the fixed to switch to fixed update on items moving around,
All right.
and so that should be more consistent between the game and the build. You can try. Uh, yeah, I don't think there's anything to show off that looks different in the build from the work I've done since the last stream.
All right. You did mention that like it might make sense to do a bit of play testing. Maybe we'll do that in a little bit. I mean, most of what I did since this
Yeah,
morning
we
was
should
just
be testing.
work
Is
on.
your is your face the letter M?
Is my face the letter M on the call? Yes. On the stream, I got an
Ah,
extra camera over it. The stream is all your face with me in
oh,
the corner.
awkward. I hate
Um,
that.
well, you should make a little corner of one of the Miros that's just like this is what I got in the background, kind of jam.
Yeah, which one do you want to start with?
Uh, I don't know. We can start with craft. The icon is for deeps. On the actual, I don't know. Doesn't matter. Let's talk. Let's get craft stuff out of the way first. I'm pretty close to a first pass on Prospector's Pass, pardon the pun, and a bunch of alliteration. The contacts are all in. They went in yesterday. I've been working on all the unlock stuff for it, which is making some new things, putting them in the right place, filling in gaps. Um, I do think someday we should strongly consider what you call it, maybe a tool to make levels on top of a tool to make like put trees around the level. It's maybe it's not for craft, and that's fine, but it's a little squirrely.
Yeah, I was thinking a little bit more about that since you brought it up. Why doesn't my Unity want to stay? Ooh, that's weird. There we go. Yeah, I thought a little bit more about that. I think what we probably need is just another element that is considered part of a level. Right, like right now, the level is the actual grid that you organize items on. It's the layout that we initialize it to when you first start. It's the set of characters that you can interact with. And it probably also just needs a scene that it can load on the side so you can do some of that deco stuff you talked about, like make a animal peeking out from behind a tree, that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Because we don't have any other way to do that. And so then there'll just be a scene file that you make for each level, for each yard level. No, it would just be each. It would just be each location now, wouldn't it?
It would.
It's just like it's an extra element on top of the background. Okay, so now it's actually okay. So
Got
it's
a
not a level piece. It's a
location piece. Strangely enough.
we can do that. We can do something about that real quick.
Except that like there's not a lot of value in me plopping the stuff down through a spreadsheet. Is the issue.
Plopping
Like
stuff down for a spreadsheet.
so
Oh,
so
we're going back to the layout
so
discussion,
so
right?
the I mean it's a bit of both. Bit of column A, bit of column B. Like at some point I'm a little hesitant to like pull the trigger anytime soon on this because we're just getting into early access. But in theory, like I should be able to pop open Unity, have a list, like say like, hey, I'm gonna be making. Maybe I have to enter or I go to a scene or whatever that's got the right size background and it's got a tile thing imposed on it. So I've already lined everything up, and I go, hey, I want to start with a locked forge over here. I want to start with 5x10 over here with a mouse. Like I'm scrolling through a list of those things, and I just drag them where they go. And then if I want trees outside the level, like optimally in that same view, trees, hiding duck, whatever, I'm in there also and just putting the stuff where it goes, can rescale things a little bit if it's outside the actual map. Level design tool. The output of that very easily may just be the exact sheets that we have, or the exact sheet that we have for what's inside the play space, and then an auxiliary JSON or whatever for what's outside.
I might skip the sheet. I don't want to try and output a sheet. Maybe just go straight to data. That'd be my suggestion to start at least.
I'm down. I don't need the sheet. When the sheet goes away, like I'm
you
like,
can arrange it in a scene. I mean, that's just So here's how this slices up from like the engineering perspective is what you say is cool and more expensive than loading up a scene as part of a location so that you can do the deco stuff. Right now we can do the layout stuff, and yeah, it sucks. And I'd like to do that part that's more user friendly for doing layouts. That would put off getting to early access, that's for sure.
No, that's what I'm saying is this for me is not proceeding that. I can rock out with the flow that we've got for the foreseeable future.
Do you want the ability to add deco outside of the grid?
I don't think either of those things at all are a higher priority than anything else that we've already got for early access, and I do not think that they block early access.
Okay.
So right now, like day one early access, we've got 4 maps. It's like a 30, 40, 40, and I think another 30. I think the tutorial's still going to be 30. I might shrink it down a little bit because it's not going to have as many things in it. So that might be a 20.
You're talking about the size of
the size, yeah. So that said, that's only 3 assets as far as backgrounds go. That's not too bad, and they're the smallest sizes. But like, if in the future we want to do something cool, where like, hey, whenever, let's say the word fall is in the title of one of the levels, and like you get some sort of sense of time passing, and we want to put out like, autumn looking trees and different tufts of grass and stuff like that. Doing that from scratch with my absolutely marginal art skills is slow. And then the actual level design part, like, I think once we start getting feedback on the balance of levels, then we're probably going to want to start talking tool in terms of just filling in what's in there.
Okay. I'm going to put just a couple notes for these tasks on my side list here, just so I don't lose track of them.
Yeah.
But they're going in the future zone. That's what it sounds like.
Nice. Oh, I should probably dump something silly in the chat. Where is Notepad++?
So I have an extreme amount of composters now because of this new bug I've introduced, where many characters show up in the shop.
I love it.
Yeah, it opens up some new builds.
Some new builds. It opens up cheating.
Yeah, cheating builds.
Indeed. Not that you couldn't cheat the entire time as an engineer, but
Is that cheating or is that just having godlike powers?
Get philosophical with me.
Can you hear audio from the window now? From the game?
I don't. Not at all. Zero.
Should we make a nominal effort to stop that, or is it going to be distracting?
The background music?
Yeah.
You mean the certified bangers?
Yes. Looking at my settings here. Settings. Nah, I don't see anything immediately that makes that work.
If you want the music in the background, I can just pop that
No, it's okay.
in.
That's up to you. I'll leave that choice to you.
Maybe next time. Our nice nerd voices will have to carry everyone through.
Yeah. So what should we do? What should we do here in the game before we move on to more concrete topics?
I mean, we should get to deeps at some point, but one of the things tabled from like it was one of the morning chats was like talking about organic progress in Cruft and how it's going to be like it ain't a bad thing, but it is what it is. How it's going to be a bit of a challenge in terms of game balance, like we are not direct mapping progression loosely mapped to maps all that thing's off by a little scooch.
Yeah. And one of the big X factors, one of the big ways that makes it hard to predict what you'll go into a given yard with is the stuff you bring with you from your last game. You can, well, in the future, you'll be able to put stuff in your van,
stupid van,
and then take it with you to your next game. So
yeah,
you could start any level with anything.
In theory, yes. Yeah, that's the thing is that we can't guarantee the tools you have with you, which is good and also bad. Like I'm really like I got to go back in and like add hammers everywhere because now there's multiple levels. You leave, you pack stuff up. I mean, we can do whatever we want with messaging.
Can
like
you make a hammer in this thing?
You used to be able to, but I believe I removed it so that you couldn't make one.
The workbench is such like a central thing. Doesn't it cover you? It covers your bases just to put it back into there, right?
There is no way to have more than one hammer at present. I removed all the ways to make hammers because we made the one hammer.
Yep.
The
one hammer to rule them all.
Yeah, and what we did is removed all of the chances to lose the hammer on crafting anything. So there.
Yeah.
Which I mean, I guess at this point, I could just drop it in the Hard at Work store. You pay also for it if you don't bring it. If you don't want to take up that one piece of space, so be it. Like, it's your call. Yeah, I could just. I mean, it would be a little insane if the hardware store didn't have a hammer.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah,
so you'll just add it to the hardware store.
Yeah, I'll add it to the hardware store. I'll add it to the workbench also if you want. I mean, the other thing to consider is whether or not you lose hammers potentially, but I probably wouldn't. I don't think I'm going to go into data and add that back in necessarily.
Yeah, the way you had hammers before, they were kind of like a builder in a 4X game where like you could only build so many of this category of item at a time.
Well, the hammer still does that. The hammer's still a requirement. It's just 100% output every time you do it, and there's only the one hand. Oh, so you're saying, yeah. It would having more than, if I'm reading you right, having more than one hammer would have value in that there are some things I could build more than one of, a class of items I could build more than one of in sync, in parallel. What I'm getting at, though, is that, like, I don't think we necessarily need to reduce the 100% chance to get the hammer back. Before they had a chance to be consumed like mining picks.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So what else about the um, complexity of weaving through progression did you want to talk about?
So so where we sort of tabled it was, if I'm remembering correct, like, do we have a solid fallback point if what we need to do is directly attach achievements to certain levels? Um,
Oh yeah, yeah. So the context here is that it might be really useful as a player to know what achievements are feasible in a given level.
yeah, and that's where it gets
But then
a
but then
little
it's sticky
sticky.
because you can bring anything, so maybe anything's possible. Yeah, your fallback, I think you proposed one fallback, which was just you kind of decide what achievements are well supported in a subjective way, and those become badges on the yard that you're considering, right? In the yard select screen.
Like, here's the thing, like, I'm not even sure. I guess what I'm gonna do is a whole lot of nothing to start, I think, is what it's gonna be. um because the game is very sandboxing, and it's supposed to be sandboxing. And so, like, I worry a little bit about whether or not people will grok it, but at the same time, like, if I have three achievements that are listed, it's so important that, like, we keep talking about them as achievements. They really are the progression of the whole game. If I tell you you can get one, two, and three, but you really need to go to a different level to do X or Y to come back and get three, like, that's also like a little deceptive, and I don't want to prescribe yet what's necessary. Like, I think I think if we can make the play experience work in such a way that it becomes very comfortable dropping into a yard, doing a few things, having a good time with it, building a pretty cool yard with the intent of, like, I'm doing a building block thing for another level. I think if we can just make that part clear, I think we'll be fine. I think I'm over worrying, I guess, is the point.
Yeah, like achievements aren't like the first thing I usually think about when I'm playing a game. I'm just kind of feeling it, right?
Yeah.
And then once I get to a point with the game, I'm like, okay, well, what are the challenges? Like I'm starting to look for a new objective, and then I go into the achievements.
Like, we're gonna have to
And
be way more painfully explicit with the fact that the achievements are progression than
right, we've
any
done
of
this
the.
thing where we take something that's sort of a background, like advanced thing, and made it
Yeah, it's
sort of
literally
or to
mapped.
the point. It's the point.
Yeah, it is the point.
So I get that, but I think what I'm trying to say is that I agree that like if we just don't talk too much about achievements, players will still find them if they're in the phone, like,
It's
uh,
true.
and we can gently introduce them during some point in the tutorial, so they're not a
Why?
total mystery.
Like, I don't want to be as loosey goosey as, not loosey goosey, but like as experimental as the demo. Like, we're obviously restricting things down per level instead of just having one of them. Having a little bit more, not even direction, but like there's paths now that'll be a little bit more clear based on the level that you're in. It's not
You're talking
just
about the level itself being experimental, or the
yeah,
tutorial.
and even the point of, like, a lot of why the demo is the way it is just to see what people did with it when they had all the Legos dumped out.
Yeah,
I don't want to be that experimental, but
yeah, we're reining it in so that
I
it's
think
a
what
little
we
bit more
need
of
to
a
do,
focused
rather than go
experience.
ka-chunk for the day one of early access and just be like, all right, I'm telling you everything. I think we just need to be mindful that, like, over time and based on feedback, we're probably going to get more explicit about some things, probably have to guard the line a little bit. But I guess for day one early access, I'm not going to do anything for in regards to this one thing. Let's let players play
In
it.
regards to achievements, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So we're back to the do nothing about achievements on a per level basis.
Yep.
This does segue to another thing I wanted to talk about, which was tutorials, though,
Yeah.
because we mentioned, I mentioned maybe like the tutorial needs to tell you about achievements, but maybe not the first yard, maybe not your first, loop through a yard. Cares about that yet? I don't know.
I mean, how it's going to work is that like I'm going to actually let me check over here in the. Let me see if my design says anything.
What are you looking at?
I'm looking at level design for in the beginning. I mean,
And you can't share, right? Here, let me.
I mean, I could do.
You're
I got
in Miro.
I got
No?
tricks. I could hide your face, but go. Whoop. All right, you can't see it unless you're watching the stream elsewhere. But I've.
Can't see it.
Okay, well.
Well, here, I'll get the screen up just so you see what you're
There we go. So anyway, in the beginning, it's so funny with like how many screens I got going now. Yeah, it's just Tim. We enter the magnet. We
Oh yeah, this
teach
stuff.
how to build from scratch. The hammer, the workbench, the widgets, no cache. So it's bootstrap. I mean, depending on how hard coded the tutorial is, I feel like we need you to get the magnet, and that needs to do what, no matter what an achievement would do elsewhere in the game. So like, as a very like concrete example would be speedrunning pizza, creating infinite. That's a Badger just commented. Trying to put a growing zone inside buildings. Old builds, man, they were fun. Oh, coming back though. Speedrunning pizza was the jam. And good to see you, by the way. So I think we want to flow through all the UIs and game stuff for when I leave the map with the magnet on the map that gives me an achievement that unlocks Otto, Sarah, maybe someone else. Like I think we need to, in the tutorial, put in a very concrete example of getting an achievement when you leave. Like that closes the circle, if that makes sense.
Okay.
I'm killing my screen, by the way. In case you've got like
on the side you mentioned depending on how hard coded the tutorial is. I guess what I wanted to get into about tutorials was like how data driven must they be, or could they be, and like would we want to split up some of the introduction of the different mechanics, maybe like on the level with a mine, then there's an opportunity to introduce a new character and to introduce a little bit of the mine's mechanics in a more narrative way. And overall, we've talked about how like
I think
gets a lot more comfortable, a lot more interesting as we add ways for these characters to express themselves. So like that's really all a tutorial kind of is. It's somebody talking to you.
I think I don't know where this fits in schedule wise, but the more I think about it, what we're describing as tutorial isn't even. I think it's going to have a little bit of hard codiness in the very beginning of like do this, do this, do that. But I think it's going to exist. I think the capability is going to exist on every single level, and it'll be used less heavy-handed elsewhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think the Simon Says element of what we consider the tutorial now will be the most heavy-handed that it's used.
Mhm.
I don't think we're gonna force
No.
people to do something before and update the store accordingly in real time and things like that.
Yeah,
But
the store updates I want to come back to. Go ahead.
yeah, um, I think once someone leaves the first tutorial, they're just that exit is playing the game. Like the end of the first level. I'm just gonna call it the first level. The end of in the beginning. Person's going to go to the realtor, probably be directed there, go through the flow of packing up the van and leaving, and then the main thing it will be that will obliterate in the beginning from the selectable levels when you
Okay.
choose.
I
That'll
just
be
made
it.
a note for myself to make it so you can remove them because I'm tracking additions but not subtractions.
Yeah. I think that'll be the thing is that the player's actually just going to go through the game systems as normal. Like the achievement for having the magnet will unlock, probably a simple farm and prospector's pass. Um, so now they'll be choosable. Maybe the third one on top of it. It'll unlock Sarah. It'll unlock Otto. Uh, it'll unlock. Well, Tim's already unlocked from the start. And then at that point, we purely rely on the same systems to like unlock more stuff. It's basically you go get Chivos to get more characters, more recipes, etc., etc. Things like butter that were confusing in the demo tutorial will just be a locked recipe. And maybe you unlock it literally from the magnet. Who knows? Maybe we just put all the
Mm-hmm.
stuff back in that was like simple that needs to get pulled out. Um, so yeah, that's what I meant by like how hard coded it is. I think systemically it'll be the same. The special sauce is pulling the tutorial out of selectable levels after you do it, and we probably will not wield as much Simon Says, if any, after that. But it probably still will be possible. Your first time in Prospector's Pass, it may be like, do this, dude. But I don't want to do that. I just don't think we need to shut it off. If we do a
One of
release with a new system that's cooked into a new map, and we do want to do some Simon Says, then it'd be nice to have that still be a possibility.
Yeah, I'm not gonna have two different. If we're doing a data-driven sort of tutorial script system, it would all be possible. You just don't have to use it. It's probably not surprising. And the thing I wanted to get into more because this is like makes it a little bit tricky is the way the first tutorial, the way the in the beginning tutorial unlocks different shops along the way.
So that I think is the only part that's going to have to stay like intact. Like I
Really?
think I do think we started with Tim having all the stuff and it was too much,
Right.
and then we broke it into like a measured do this chunk, do that to chunk. I think we have to keep that intact. Badger says, as you move between levels and load, you were talking about the hammer. Is the magnet also a movable asset? Perhaps the van just needs a toolbox slot. Yeah, we thought about that. So, so we want to get players very specifically being mindful when they leave to like pack up the stuff they think they need. Part of me is kind of like workbench, hammer, magnet, like automatic, but I could see wanting to give the player the freedom to be like, I don't care. And I could see us getting to a point where we have 3 or 4 tools and they only want to take a couple with them. So that's definitely a possibility. I'm hesitant to do it yet. Um, I would probably sooner solve that by the magnet having a unlocking a magnet recipe, um, or having it be purchasable or something like that. But it's definitely it could happen. We could end up in a boat where like this is the minimal amount of equipment you have to show up with in order to get rolling. But like, I'd like to be able to show up with, a bunch of statues because I think they're cool, and maybe someday statues do something. But I've got enough starting money where like I just go to the hardware store, buy myself a workbench and a hammer and a magnet, and call it a day. Though, here's a question, Will. When I get them, do I have to have the magnet on the map to press one and use the magnet? Or is it that when I
Right
get the
now,
magnet?
yeah.
Okay, it is. All right.
Right now, so
That's
I
good
press
that
one,
it's that.
my cursor changes to the magnet cursor. I magnet up pigs.
Yeah.
If I go to the van, I can't magnet right now,
That's right. It does have to be that. That's pretty sweet.
and I could put the magnet in the van, and now I can magnet.
All right. So at that point, maybe we just make magnets more widely available. We can solve for that. But yeah, at some point there may be a compartment that just literally auto grabs a couple things. It would be a shame if people just absolutely balked on the game because after they leave the first place with nothing. In fact, the tutorial's probably gonna, not even probably, the tutorial's gonna have to force you to pack some stuff up.
Yeah.
Like that is essential and novel. I think if we
Just
make
like
someone
thinking
do it
more
once,
about the shop unlock stuff, and maybe it's not that bad. Maybe I just need to get into the details of it more to feel like I know how to do that. My concern is that it's just two disparate sets of data that are going to now be entangled in a new way.
I think the only place we need
Tutorial script, and then there's characters, and then what shops they have is another piece of data that's like.
I think the only place we're going to use
dance.
shops being altered by the game, not the player hitting reset. I think the only place we're going to do that is in the beginning. So I feel like the functionality that we have exactly right now is the only place that we're going to use that. And if that's the special case and it only happens there, and then we wipe our hands of it after you leave that first level you never get to go back to.
Is it only ever going to be within one character's shop? Or is that a restriction that's copacetic? Like, right now, the level outlines a set of characters, but I'm like annoyed at the thought of having to go in and be like, okay, but what tutorial state am I in? Like, maybe I'll need to mark up characters with like an.
I'm saying you shouldn't make that. You shouldn't make the Tim has 3 different shops in the same level and you only ever have access to one and they happen in order. You shouldn't make that generic. I think it's only special sauce in the one case that we use it.
Just for that one tutorial?
Yeah. Because every other time
it's not if tutorials, well, okay, so in that world we have one hard-coded tutorial for the first experience, and then we have data-driven tutorials for the other yards. I mean, I guess that's fine, but now you will have sort of like a different set of, we'll be maintaining a different sort of suite of tutorial tools in that world.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not a mobile game and people are paying money for it eventually, so it's not a real fatui, but like having some degree of special sauce on that is not the worst thing. Like being okay. And having it be isolated where like, all right, we don't have to change how the entirety of all the systems work to just go in and manhandle a little piece of tutorial functionality so that it works better. And by better, I don't mean like from a code perspective. I just mean like we had to do this funny thing right now.
Yeah, we teach people the game better.
Yeah, that's a better way to put it.
Yeah, I'll have to get into it. Do you want to get into it now?
I think we got into it enough now for both of us to think about it wisely. for a bit.
Just gonna take more notes. Okay. Yeah, I'm pretty comfortable with that approach. I mean, it's that first tutorial is going to continue to be kind of like a maintenance burden.
Unless we make it perfect and we never have to go back to it again. Oh. You know what? It's funny. It's not correct. I'm going to do the screen again. But I actually have the achievement in there. I should go back and look at the things that I've written down. Tim's Trust, audit, 1 magnet. Recipes? Question mark magnet? So maybe I was like, 100 starting cash money. Who knows that number's right? You unlock real Tim, hard at work, Sarah. Auto? And any other recipes that need to be in there that are like, oh, we really should, for the sake of, we cleaned it out for the tutorial, butter. We can put it back in.
Yeah. No, the magnet was always the sort of big payoff for the first level.
Yep. And it also makes it not pizza, which is important because the demo's got its own chivos.
Okay.
Pizza in the demo. The magnet is the true key to the future, the full game.
The water pressure is almost good enough to reach the top of the screen at this zoom level. Okay, so do you want to get into deeps next then?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, quit that. Shut this down.
Oh, this Miro is awesome. Stud zombies, Will. Stud zombies.
All right, let's see if I can share. Yeah, Smiro is awesome. What what am I looking at?
So I feel like one of the things we probably blocks of ideas. What a great idea that was.
Some of this was from when it was a game about standing on the shore.
It's true. It is true. Some of it was. All right.
It's more this. This is more.
Yeah.
This is more what the
actual game is about now. So,
which still probably doesn't make any sense.
Well,
somebody looking at this from outside. So yeah,
I feel like
reintroduce me to this design.
Yeah, let me dig around where I'm on the screen. What the heck are we talking? Okay, so ways to describe it would be like, what if Chillquarium had no chill? What if we took a classic aquarium game and sprinkled it with Lovecraftian evil? What if we had a little bit of a feel of like Dungeon Keeper, to the point where we have, I think, Deeps Keeper written somewhere in here. What if you were the supernatural, omnipresent power at the bottom of some murky, creepy water, and you were raising things that weren't goldfish or minnows or bass, or maybe you do, but then through some application of energy or force, things mutate. You get bloated zombies underwater. You get shark men. You get mer slugs. You get stud zombies. The point being, it's an aquarium. It's an evil aquarium, is really what it is. And so you start with little things in a sort of nascent state, be them little fish eggs and whatever, and then you, as this sort of deeps keeper, are mutating them into different forms. End goal of which I'm not sure is all that important, unless as long as it feels super evil and super Lovecraftian and super old onesy. I think that's the main thing. It's definitely a collector. There's definitely a big screen of all the things that you could possibly make. Not necessarily every combination. Oh, it's very much about combinatorial humor.
Cool.
Like, what happens when I put a carp tail on the back of, I don't know, some dude? Is that fun? Or a bass head, two bass heads on top of a person with pointy teeth.
It sounds fun. How do we? I mean, maybe this isn't what you were looking to get into, but like, how do we measure that?
Floor's open, Will. We'll get into anything so early. How do you measure? How do you measure?
Yeah, like you have a hypothesis that this is fun. It's fun to sort of shake the dice and see what the system spits out based on your inputs.
I think. Oh, you're saying prove it?
Yeah. Like, what are we looking for with this game? Like,
I think there's a lot of discovery. So at its core, this is like a real time, slow, live ant farm, sea monkey farm. Oh my god, we're gonna absolutely. You gotta write sea monkey somewhere. I'm gonna write it.
I'm writing it.
I'm gonna find.
I'm writing the back of the box.
Oh man, you're even using
bullets up here.
Good font.
I forget where this font came from, but here it is.
Color's good. Thickness, not so much. Sea monkeys. Sorry.
Aren't sea monkeys kind of famous for being like a cool idea and then they're boring?
They're brine shrimp. They're just brine shrimp. Like, they're just literally like, those eggs last forever. And so sea monkeys are like, it was like, hey, you get this like this jar. They're like, put some water in it, make sure it's not too chlorinated. Sprinkle this thing in, and these little guys will be like floating around. There's nothing monkey-like about them. They are pretty boring. You basically, but if kept in the right circumstances, you can maintain a colony of them. I mean, some of this is like the joy of keeping an interesting biological soup of little things going around. Like, some of this is genuine aquarium shit.
Right. And we're not wondering whether aquarium games can work.
Correct.
Yeah.
There's the
Because
word.
there's proof.
Yeah, there's absolutely proof in that. I guess maybe some of the like hypothesis is most aquarium games are like pretty straightforward, real world, non fantasy, absolutely
Yeah.
no evil vector. Um, so the general format of that kind of game is that I get some eggs, drop them in, they grow. After a certain amount of time and effort, they hit maturity, and then I sell them, and I use that money to buy more. We would look at all of those interactions and like make some of them, basically modulate them a bit so that some are more experimental. It's not purely a crapshoot. Um, so it's not that I just get randomized eggs and like I have to just keep making stuff until I've pulled that lever enough times where I've explicitly gotten every type of egg and waited X amount of time every single time. Um,
This is
until they
basically
pop.
the loop, right?
Yeah, that's the standard loop.
The classic.
And what I want to do is um wait till you scooch that out of the way. Then I'm gonna jump on it. I want, for now, I want there to be some participatory action that turns that loop into something more interesting where I affect the outputs. And so it changes how buy sell you don't sell the X, you sell the uh um the heck did you just draw? Is that a
What did
dong?
I just draw?
Oh, you drawing dongs? It was a fish hook. It's a fish hook.
So
So much more difficult with a mouse.
yeah, I need to get a pen. So what does the fish hook? I really like the fish hook part that we've sketched out somewhere in this long description. But that doesn't really fit this, does it?
It does. Um, what I think happens. I don't know if my desktop sound is up. Chilquarium actually just popped in the background.
I did not hear it, so no.
Yeah, sad. Uh, I think the whole like, there's no god gaming of a traditional aquarium game. Like, yeah, you can sprinkle some food in, but all you're doing is speeding things up. And I find the traditional aquarium game to be awesome. Like, it is a great thing to just have off on the side and just check progression. I guess what I'm trying to say is like the player manipulating the thing, I think is a novel addition. So I feel like the fish hook is like, hey, the game and its AI is giving you opportunities to make decisions or change the status quo of things. Um, I
It's like it's kind of like on one hand you could look at it like trashing a card in a deck building game.
can. It's obviously going to like. I mean, this right here is like so loaded. It's like what do I think there needs to be a fish hook that comes down and pulls something out, and every other detail beyond that, I think, is like super important and poorly defined.
Yeah.
I think the idea of this not being an aquarium is like it being a pond, a deep place in the world full of mystery is like huge. And I think the concept of a person sticking their nose where they don't belong and dropping a fish hook into it is hilarious. And I also think it's a prime opportunity to put forks in the player road where they get to do something. Like, I think mechanically it could be like, I need to get rid of something that's in my pond because it's not in line with what I'm trying to do here. I think that's an absolutely huge possibility. Like the classic chucking your card in a roguelike deck builder. I think the ability to cash something out in a special way. So
Oh,
like
yeah.
sell the eggs is like, like, you know, in our case it might be like chumming, where rather than like selling something, I say, hey, these guys are like marked to just be eaten by everyone else. Um, and then I get something back that I can buy eggs with. I think that maybe the hook is the kind of situation where these creatures that I have, they can be chummed and I can get back resources, or they can be hooked and I can get something else. I think is interesting as like a disruption while I'm playing. So if you treat it like it's just a regular old single screen aquarium kind of setup, when the hook comes down, it's like I could have sold this guy for money, or I could win a prize by entering this fish in the International Fish Show. Like that kind of difference where there's not going to be hooks constantly in, but like when it happens, like there's something special about it beyond just deleting something from my tank. I mean, if we want to be humorous about it, it's like the thing that gets hooked and pulled up has a chance to come back with more stuff. Like you hooked a zombie by accident, it goes up, kills everyone on the boat. Fisherman and his wife fall into the deeps. You dig it?
Yeah. Yeah, we've talked about that. I like the sort of trading you're gonna do. Like it opens up a lot. I mean, there's gonna need to be a lot. Maybe it's not a lot. Maybe it's just undefined. What comes out when you hook something, when you cash it in on the hook, feels like it needs more definition. Maybe like am I just getting random stuff drop down? Am I getting
What
how does
if
that how does that change the way my stuff grows?
what if the hook is like a quest slash could also be dungeon? I don't mean you go anywhere, but I mean just in terms of uh how it's charted. That like the hook comes down and it's a challenge of some sort. That the currency I'm paying is a creature or creatures, and the outcomes of that are determined by stuff that's not 100% under my control. So, just as easily, there's no fish hook. There could be a thing that flies on the side of the screen and says, hey, do you want to send 3 bloated zombies to try to quest for the Sword of Archimedes? And I could be like, sure. And then they leave my space, and then X amount of time goes by, and maybe they come back with a thing. Maybe they come back dead. Maybe one of them comes back with a special ring. Maybe they're 100% successful and they come back with the Sword of Archimedes. What do you think about that?
Is that in addition to the hook?
No, I'm saying visibly we could have I'm not proposing we do something. I'm saying just remove the metaphor of the hook completely. I'm describing what the hook does without it being hooking a fish or person. What I'm saying is functionally under the hood, it could be just the same as
Sure.
getting a
The
quest thing that says
attention to
here.
job system.
Yeah, like this quest takes one participant with these ramifications and has a chance to give you back this thing, and then the creature you send on it has a percent chance to come back in different states, and you have a percent chance for a reward. That's what I see the hook doing.
Mm-hmm.
And me choosing to put something on the hook based on probability of success or magnitude of success, or do I send this thing off just because, like, depending on the parameters of what happens off screen, I have this neat choice with all the stuff that I've got here. And you could see a point where some hooks only go down one level of your deeps, like one screen, and that's what I have to work with there. But if the thing keeps going down, now it's like, oh, I could grab this huge Leviathan thing and put it on the hook, 3 screens down.
Yeah. Yeah. So okay, so it's like it's a quest opportunity, and you're sacrificing a critter that you've got, and I guess what's missing is the language for what the context around each hook, right? Like with no ornamentation, it's just a hook.
Mm-hmm.
And you're just going, I'm going to chuck something and maybe I get something cool back. And maybe that's good enough some of the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Have we talked about baiting the hook? I feel like that's not a bad way to sort of put some context to each of these opportunities. You don't have to know what it does the first time, but if it's consistent, when every time a worm comes down, a fisherman gets thrown back if you win, right?
Oh, you're saying we have different types of hooks, and that implies who's on the other end?
Maybe it's a gem encrusted hook. Like there's not a lot of like
maybe it's a
room for misinterpretation there. Maybe it's
a lobster
got
trap.
a bologna sandwich on it. Yeah, maybe it's a lobster trap. Nice.
I think there's a lot of room there. I do think that it's entirely fine if there is a fly-in in the corner as being like, yo, there's a hook on one of your screens. Like, I think it's fine if you scroll all the way up to like whatever the highest altitude screen you have is, and you can see either a boat or someone's, feet hanging off a dock if there is one. I do think it needs context. Right now, I do wonder, like the biggest danger of this game is taking something that is amazingly simple and very popular and for good reason, compelling to play, and adding too much to it. But
To me, the hook gives it some reason to be.
Gives it a hook.
Can't argue with that. Yeah.
Oh, Sectrix is in the house. Good to see you, buddy. Right, we're talking about a totally different game right now.
Yeah, no, Badger was on topic when he chimed in.
Yeah.
Wait,
Sectrix, right. Shouldn't you be working?
Yeah.
Listen to other people struggle through game design while you try to do your actual hard work. I am. Nice. Perfect. What does your boss think about that? He loves it. I am the boss. So, all right. So I've got this like equivalent of a fish tank. It's got several layers to it of depth. I am somehow purchasing the nascent version of things. Probably getting some of them elsewhere. I'm applying some flex as they grow to grow them differently, which is giving me more options, more tools. to do stuff with, and hopefully giving me some decent giggles along the way. A bigger sense of agency than I would get out of a standard aquarium game. It still needs to run as I've got this on my side screen, and every once in a while I hear a little bloop. I think it still needs to be the kind of thing that I have a reason to crack this open in the morning before I go to work if I'm playing it on Steam. It does need to be tied to real world time. And I think the interactions need to be minimalist and physical enough to make sense to play via touch. You're just going to delete the whole thing. Hit Control A. Gone.
Start over.
Start over.
Wipe it.
Like, unlike Cruft, this thing needs to be made from the start for Steam with the, like, very short path to Steam Deck, mobile, Switch, refrigerator.
Okay. Switch isn't happening anytime soon. We're gonna need some hardware for that to be possible.
Yeah, or you pay someone. And they pay. They have hardware. Vox communicator.
Yeah, Nokia N-Gage. We could. I mean. Okay, so what I think what this really means is that we input schemes are behind a layer abstraction, abstract layer.
I think what we do here, like,
but if it's simple enough, that's not going to be onerous.
yeah, I mean, I think it has to be designed with it. Like, Cruft is supposed to be crufty and grimy, and like, you know, the magnets need TI calculator. They don't have touchscreens. You'd have to use those 4 arrows.
If we abstract the input system, we could.
That is true. But my point here is that, like, as a human, the human interaction with this, I think, should be like, if it requires more than a simple gesture, then we're going in the wrong direction. Like, I think this is important for us to learn to do well. Most, if not most of the mobile work you and I have both done has been pretty grimy stuff.
You mean like hardcore gamer shit? Like, what do you mean?
Like, Game of Thrones Conquest is like, it's got a bit of juice in it, but it's not a gesture game. The interactions with it are like menu back, plus, yes, approve. And what I'm saying is,
yeah, it's a lot of menuing.
It's a lot, yeah.
This is way less menuing. This is the other side of that spectrum, where there's like no menuing.
So many cursors. Got to respond to sectors real quick. What was it? There we go. Sorry, he was typing funny things into his calculator.
You have an extra S at the end of here.
Mine's boobless.
Oh. Okay.
It's probably 7. It's probably supposed to be 7 in there. So I think a hook comes down and you grab one of your creatures, and you put it on the hook.
Yeah. Hang them up.
I think you can feed fish, feed creatures, and I think that's where we start to like mess with getting into some weird genetics. I also think that another point here. Uh, so a traditional
Is that
fish.
a double helix? Is that
Yeah,
what?
it is.
Okay. All right.
There you go. Put the lines in between. There's a double helix. Um, most aquarium games, some of them allow for some degree of breeding, and generally it's like, oh, do you want a yellow version of this same fish? I don't think we need to go that much more crazy, um, but for things to be evil and like manipulative and have that uh spectrum from like like Lovecraftian lore is always like things seem pretty mundane except that like this one little thing's off and then all of a sudden you're like down in some weird cavern and there's like penguin men chanting and like it's step by step to get there. um I think in how you feed slash manipulate the creatures you have over time and potentially how the creatures you have might have offspring in some way, shape, or form. Um, should be a part of the game. Hybridizing. Like it's a very Lovecraftian thing to have like part fish, part man, part bird, part fish. That like chaotic, disgusting combos that don't make any sense.
Yeah, and so the verbs that you've talked about so far for accomplishing this are feeding and breeding. Is that what we're going to be doing with touch gestures?
Feed and breed. Yeah. So if you think about you've already got a beautiful diagram of it. If you think about this being multiple horizontal screens that are stacked, and like the further down you go, the deeper you are, and the crazier stuff gets. And each one of those is kind of like a fish tank for breeding. So based on what is in any one of those, maybe there's some intermingling going on. I think that's enough. I think that's like I drag this guy up to the screen, kind of like when you're just moving icons, even though it's painful, on your home screen. Like I'm moving things between these different tanks, and the disposition of what's there um, might determine what some of these eggs are like that I'm buying, if that makes sense.
Not yet. I definitely have questions about buying eggs.
Okay. From Badger, keeping enough waste options so that your prized fish aren't sacrificed. I think you absolutely need to brand some of these fish as being like protected by the evil god so that they can't be sacked unless you revoke the brand. You absolutely have to be like, this is, I mean, we even have it on here, like the idea of a stud zombie. Like this is like the best drowned zombie I've ever made. And I keep this thing just for breeding purposes. Keep it forever. So let's say like 3 levels down.
Before we go 3 levels down, tell me more about the sacrifice mechanic. How does that work?
Uh, I think that it's a core tenet of like this kind of mood to be like, I make zillions of things and then I sacrifice 3 zillion of them to like keep the 50 that are good and then I move on. Like,
are we sacrificing them on the hook? Are we sacrificing them?
I think the hook is special. I think the hook is a disruption. Um,
Yeah. Okay. All right. We don't have to go back into the hook yet. I was just
yeah.
trying to understand like where these actions come from. So like we've talked a little bit about buying eggs in general terms. We've talked about breeding and feeding and sacrificing.
Mm-hmm.
I want to drill into each of those. Like how do we do that? What does that look like?
Just real quick, Sector says, I want to make a pawn sacrifice and call the worst fish a badger, which should confuse everyone without context. We'll put badger in this one. That's easy.
We're talking about chess now.
We're yeah. So I don't know how to buy eggs. It may have very little pomp around it, or it may just be that I can spend some currency on any given level to just like buy eggs. I know it sounds pretty thin, but like based on the soup that is at any one given level at any given time, if I've got the currency, I can be like, give me more nascent bullshit. Give me more proto bullshit.
Yeah, the primordial slime that you just deem into existence.
But I think those have to be based on something you're cultivating in that space over time. Like one of the things that I would like to see is that if I want an 8-headed drowned zombie that has those like diving bell helmets on it, that over time it's like I had to get to zombies, and then I had to get to strong zombies, and then I had to get to 2-headed zombies, and then I had to get to 4, then I had to get to 8, and then I needed 8 diving bells. Like that kind of like over time things get weirder and weirder and weirder. And some of that had to do with like growing and chumming they're not NFTs, but like in the same way that on the Steam store, like Counter-Strike guns have like a decimal number of like their rarity, and it's like whatever it is, like the closer to 1 it is, or closer to 0, I don't remember which one it is like is how rare the thing is. I think these creatures have stats. I think those stats are very evil in different flavors. I think there's a randomization when I get an egg of what those stats are based on the state of my deeps. And I think rather than just buying prescriptive eggs that are just drops of anything in the roster, I think what I'm doing is I'm setting up my deeps in such a way that I'm getting increasingly better drops. Or at least better in some way. So, not a real stat, but like if there was a ferocity stat on these creatures, and what I'm doing is like my 3rd level of my deeps is like my gladiatorial pit, and I just constantly set these things after each other, let the strongest win, and so the eggs that I'm churning out of there, potentially percent chance varied based on depth. We've talked about like what if a stat was lunacy, and it's like the moon is above the water, like how high up you are is the more lunacy there naturally is out of eggs that pop out of this place, especially if the moon's out or the cycle of the moon. Like having like that be one stat, and just like the moon's always up, and every hour it changes phase, and like all right, that is like a radiation kind of thing that has a different effect on my different deeps. And eventually you're too deep for any light to get through. And I somehow get some artifact, and at 4 depth, I have some, I don't know, unholy shark cage that just makes things fight each other and die and chum out and whatever. And so down there, I'm getting like way more ferocity and way less lunacy. And I'm just like moving things around and then letting them sit and cook and seeing what comes out. And like the very bottom level of my deeps is like, it looks like busted up Atlantis, and like that is where the most natural evil comes from. That's where I live.
I love uh the bottom of it being where you player lives.
Yeah.
That's fun. Yeah, bottom feeder. Are we gonna have to have an avatar for this
No,
unknowable? Okay.
I don't think we want to. I'm not just like cutting it off. This is obviously like open argument, but in the same way, in a lot of God games, you don't have a face. I think you are that one step beyond like unknowable,
Right.
evil, faceless thing. I'm gonna be back in like exactly 2 minutes.
Okay. I'm just gonna clean things up over here. Got a feature request. Ugh, Amiro. There you go, Sectarix. It's on the board. Tell me more about why you want that.
You might have a statue.
Yeah, it's an idol to yourself.
Like that, if there is any avataring, it's probably natural disasters feature request. If too many of the same thing, it increases the random chance of something bad. I think that's a brilliant idea, and I think it's on theme. I think there has to be a lot of uh, like elasticity, even to the point of things popping.
What do you mean by popping? Like exploding or by getting
Yeah,
more?
so like I've made I like the idea that you're sort of trying somewhat to like build homeostasis at in different ways in this environment. And if I'm just like breeding crazy piranha headed barbarians and like I'm going nuts and I like go super deep into that, like eventually that should topple. Or
Yeah, I think of like fighting games where if I keep mashing A over and over, A actually ends up doing less damage in some games.
yeah, or like maybe that example wasn't quite perfect, but like in terms of a natural disaster, like your survivability against it is based a bit on diversity.
Mm,
But like the idea, what Sectors is getting at is that like unexpected risk does it builds long term engagement. Now the thing is, what we can't do is necessarily guarantee that anyone is looking at this game while it's running at any given time and does have to operate that way. So like things like interruptions like the fish hook might have to be purely opt-in, or like when I put something on the fish hook, there's a big old like Mad Max Thunderdome wheel,
yeah.
and it could be something neat, it could be something terrible. Um, the game does need to be played on absolutely passive mode, but then when I opt in, like some amount of very strong variance in terms of what the outcome is, interruptions, violent interruptions. I mean, I think we can get away with some pretty interesting stuff, like depending on the visuals of this and how it's laid out. Where like, early on, you're getting tiny little fishing boats, and yeah, you definitely can't get wrecked while you're AFK. Tiny little fishing boats showing up, and it's like it's low risk, and then eventually we even have a picture from the Terror over here. It's like, it's some 1800s steam powered, you know, steampunky boat is now like floating above your deeps, and intermittently it's dropping stuff in there, and like maybe even instead of a fish hook, it's like, a guy in a shark cage who's in a diving bell suit and all that stuff. Like, you're like, oh well, if I f with this thing, now it's higher risk. But the reason I say that it like absolutely has to run passively is that this is the kind of game that, like, if you were playing it on your phone or even if you were playing it on Steam, it's like when you open it up, enough time has passed where enough growth has happened where now you're going into that cycle of like chumming, selling eggs, branding some of them to keep them safe, and then shutting it off again.
Yeah, I'm into the idle game loop. I mean, we spent a lot of time with idle games.
Eons.
How do you breed? How do you chum something? Okay. In terms of actions the player can take, now we've talked about buying eggs. Buy, feed critters. How do you feed critters? How do you breed critters? Chumming things, which is the same as sacrificing. In previous times we've talked about that.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. And then breed, chum. Oh yeah, you hook something. This one, at least, I think we know the answer to. Drag it on.
Yep.
Onto a hook.
I think there's as far as chumming goes, like the way it works in a traditional aquarium game is you can pick which fish are whitelisted, and then you can individually you could be like chum this other guy, like tap on a dude and just some option pops up somewhere, and then B would be like chum everything that's not locked. There's always a sell all unlocked dudes, so you could choose them individually and just personally mark them. Some input that is hopefully a little bit fun.
Start from that. I mean, unless you want to do it differently. Wait, what do we call it? Anoint.
Chum the unanointed.
So one of the actions is anoint critters.
Mm-hmm.
And then related to that is the anointed.
Praise be.
Okay. This happens passively, right? Breeding. Oh, that's
Right, that's that part's brutal. I think that how you breed critters right now is actually going to be is just populating the definition of what an egg is anytime I buy an egg at a specific depth. I think. Does that make sense? It barely made sense to me, and I said it.
okay. So I buy an egg, and
That
that
egg.
that creates some object at that depth.
Yep.
We're imprinting on that object some
Statistical
sort of
mumbo
genetic
jumbo.
info,
Genetic
yeah,
code.
that influences how it develops.
That I think.
So really breed isn't really happening. We're just buying eggs.
I think what breeding is an abstraction, and what you do.
We're not picking two things and like mashing them together.
Well, so when I say it's an abstraction, I think it's an abstraction of the state of that deep.
Yeah, it's not two. It's the whole zone.
Yeah, but if I leave two things there, then it is absolutely like
sure
a less unholy, incestuous, crazy breeding process. And I think it's
really the question is, how do you influence the way an egg develops?
Breeding pool. Thank you, Badger. How do you influence the way an egg develops? And I think what we do is over time, we're looking at what is in that deep, and we have some crazy machine in the background with a bunch of bell curves in it, making a bunch of rolls, and we have some meters in the background. And then I smash buy eggs or whatever whatever input I do to buy eggs at that deep. It's going, what is the current state of this deep based on the adults that are in it, and I'll give you some randomized eggs that fit into some parameters based off of that.
Is what I have written here similar to what you're saying?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I think which means we would not mutate anything during its life cycle. Which is not bad.
So all right, so we're a horrible god of weird stuff. I mean, is there a way to like graft or smash two things together? Like we're talking about, there's like a whole paper doll system where like each limbs could be detached and smashed onto other things. Does that
what we have on paper
is it
right
a problem
now
that we can't do that? And if so, how do you want to solve it?
What we have on paper right now is that the way we do what you describe is that I have a man and I have a goat and I push the egg button, and that egg is a man with a goat egg when it grows up.
Okay.
But I do not take the goat's head and personally attach it to the man right now.
Okay. Yeah. Right. It's just the sum. It's the sum of the things at the depth. You can control what's at the depth, so you could figure this. You have agency here.
You do. By random, breeding pool provides egg those traits melded.
The state of the
I
depth.
think that makes sense. If there are 5 egg types available per depth, they are by egg spam. Breeding pool allows things to be customized eggs. So I think this is like the one place that we're just gonna have to play with it, and it may get redesigned like 8 times. Optimally, not 8 times. I can see being able to actually sometimes buy an egg. In fact, we may have to. In the same way in Cruft, like you need a workbench, you need a hammer to get rolling. Like there may have to be an input that allows you to drastically modify the gene pool, because if I don't have any goats, well, goats fall off boats in this metaphor. But like I could see something where like there's some weird commerce where I can buy like a pristine octopus egg, so now I can have octopus at all. Like I could see that being necessary. I could see the necessity for every once in a while something swims into your depths that wasn't there before. I think the crux of the flex on this game is the influencing what develops. I think feeding is just dragging your finger around and it plops food and things that are near it develop faster. That's like straight up fish food go fast. I could see a place where there's different types of food.
So I select. There's like a toolbar.
There's a
toolbar of
pentagram.
some sort
It's a pentagram.
Okay.
No, really.
Yeah, no, I'm laughing because
Yeah.
I like it, not because I don't believe you.
I mean, the buttons would have to be bigger, but let me actually try to draw this for real. So you've got like pentagram wheel. I'm not going to draw the actual star in it, and it's like this one's got a moon in it. This one's got a blood for ferocity. This one's got a skull in it for undead creepiness. This one, Will, we're riffing here. We got blue. We got red. We got black.
I got to see what I
we've
see.
got
We got lunacy. We got the rage.
Yeah.
Well, what was the human made stuff? Magic.
Oh yeah. That was
the pollution, plastic, the microplastics power. Oh yeah, the biohazard sign. Perfect.
Yep. Toxicity and yeah.
Yep.
Sectrix is on board as a terrible toxicity sign, but yeah. Thank you for labeling it.
I'm just riffing.
No, that's not what I want. I don't want an M. I want something that's Murish. How actually fish-like something is.
Oh. Pelagic.
Is that legit?
I remember it from playing Darkest Dungeon. Oh. The pelagic zone consists of the water column of the open ocean and can be divided into regions by depth.
Pelagic.
It just means like some part of the ocean.
Yeah. Well, that's what this stuff is.
But they used it in Darkest Dungeon, and it sounded really cool and Cthulhu-y, and it was always fish.
All right, I'll just put Mur in there. Now I'm actually reading your labels. Lunacy, counterspell, monkey face, toxic, pelagic. Yeah.
Yeah, no, correct me here. Yes,
Lunacy, something that's just like ferocity, rage,
oh, okay.
pugilism.
Pugilism. That's like
Yeah, yeah.
I'd rather do like rage. Pugilism
Because if you
just
do
feels very like 1920s boxer guy. Like
1920s, perfect. It's more like 1860s, but 1920s still fits. No, I was gonna say for the icon, then you just do the mustache. Look for the fish god. It's craziness, fightiness, deadness, toxicness. And pelagic is like how actually oceanic. I don't want to say normal,
right.
but really how normal it is. Like an anglerfish is still a
Well, because
fish.
there's gonna be a bunch of fish stuff that's got to be injected into the game. So
Yep. And like if you start out with relatively mundane stuff, that's your first food. Feeding fish, fish food.
yeah,
Fish eat fishy
right.
things. They stay fishy.
Like empty zone skews towards normal fish.
Correct. And like if you're chumming a bunch of normal fish, you're getting a bunch of pelagic whatever resource, whatever that loop is of like chumming stuff to get more stuff. Like in theory, yeah, waves would not be a bad icon. I'll put a little submarine in there. Oh, I should zoom in. Change this.
It's not bad with just the one squiggly line.
It's not bad with the one squiggly line. You're right, but I could also like get a little seagulls in there. Whoa. The point I've got like bass, carp, kelp, and all those things are just eating. I'm chumming them. They're eating each other, whatever, and they're staying in that sort of zone. And then like I start wielding the moon, and I start feeding these things moonfish, and they start going crazy, um, or
Yeah,
I,
so
I get some weird ragely artifact, and now all of a sudden they're getting pissed.
Okay, so lunacy inversely scales with depth is my math way of saying that.
Yeah.
How do the rest of them work? You were kind of just saying it, but say it again so I can write it down. Rage. How does rage work? How do I make rage fish?
Now I want a seagull octopus. Not Badger, you now get it. You now 100% get it. You want a seagull octopus? That's what we're trying to do here. Rage might be.
I think he's poking holes in it. What combination is seagull?
I mean, it's not. It's if you get a seagull in the water, seagull's still just pelagic. That's just mutation. That's just a regular old mutation. That's
what if flying things are the domain of lunacy? Yeah, see, I'm with Badger that flying things are lunacy.
Well, that's because you're playing Magic in your head. But like the fact that whales, genetically were land creatures and then went back to the ocean, you're not wrong. You're not wrong at all. That's what makes this fun to debate. Rage, I think rage is actually the weakest one. I was sort of thinking that rage is like. I think rage has got to go. It's the one that doesn't work because lunacy should eat up rage. I think rage is probably something different like thickness, girth,
chunk. It's like gluttony then.
I don't know that it's like gluttony. I think that can get rolled in there, but I think it's like it's the difference between little sharks and big sharks and how different those two concepts are. Like Leviathan type stuff is a very different equation than
Sure.
piranhas. Like that's like a key, like that's a key deeps, not this game, like just lore in general, like oh my god, that big shadow underneath there. I think lunacy will eat up any sort of ferocity kind of element to it. You should call it girth or thickness with two C's. Why doesn't this one let me move the thing around? There we go. What do you want to call it? Thickness.
But okay. Yeah, and maybe we're working towards answering these questions by kind of defining them a little bit more. That makes sense. Let's talk more about that. What are these called? Are these aspects? Do we already have a word that we've been using for these?
I think aspects is probably good.
I've been calling the things you create critters, but we probably want to come up with a different word. It's going to stick if we don't come up with a different word now, is what I'm saying.
I'm not worried about it sticking. We'll fix it. I think critters. I think critters under the hood in code is going to be probably what they
are. Okay. All right. So what is the domain of lunacy?
Lunacy is somewhere between. I would say it's blue-red magic. It's like mercurial, but like lunacy is also like frothing mad.
Rage. We stole rage from the other one because
it is. Rage is definitely in there.
Yeah. Okay. Good enough for now.
I'd also put emo in there.
Lunacy is emo?
Yeah. Or no, it's like clinical melancholy, I guess is what I'm going for. Not necessarily emo.
Okay.
Yeah. Gigantism, yes. Fortitude. Like it's what makes
crimes of scale.
Crimes of scale greatness, like a great old one, a great white shark. Like I want this one to not be about a great badge of the fish, no doubt. This one to not be about like profound profusion of different things. It's like not solitude, but like things that are singular. When you say like, well, that guy's got a singular personality, like profound things. Oh, this is what it is. Here's one that's absolutely got to be in there. Absolute unit.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think that's really good.
Death, I'm sort of like, ugh, like I definitely don't want to go pure. Like I don't want to like drop into Nurgly, but it's definitely different than toxic, and it is like you know how lichdom isn't really a Nurgly thing. Like I'm talking more like
yeah, like Nurgle is like disease.
Fecundity, like it is 100% that cycle of like, you know, things growing too fast and feeding on each other too fast and rotting too fast. It's like, I think, yeah, I think toxic like covers like disease, radiation, um plastics.
I'm still microplastic.
Yeah. um like toxic is like marketing. It, like everything that marketing is, where it's like it's not the real product, it's the thing around it. Whereas like death, I'm seeing here is more like entropy manipulation kind of things. Like maybe
Yeah, like it is. So is a zombie? Can I make a zombie, and do I need a high death quotient to do that?
I think in order to make a zombie, you need a high death quotient. And if you wanted to make something that was like one of those like wow behemoth things, it'd have a decent amount of thick to it. And if you wanted to make a zombie that was very much like a traditional merman zombie, then it would be a pelagic death. And I think a toxic one might be covered in it might look like a sea urchin, but it's got straws coming out of it. But there has to be some core thing that makes it zombie like. Um, it's like
Is it rot? Is rot toxic, or is it death?
I think I think we need zombies. I think we need like it's like how to get in. So many games handle this in different ways. Uh, I think like a Draco Lich is like such a silly thing if you like don't care about D&D. It's like, oh, I got a dragon. Well, this one's just bones. It's like, oh, so it's dumb like a skeleton. Well, no, it's actually a lot smarter. But like, that's fucking cool. Like, I don't want to lose that. I want to make sure we capture it. And
So is death just the other things but without their skin?
it's skinless.
So like
That's
to
not
me,
bad, right?
it's like what like I mean, this can get weird and philosophical. Like, what is it that makes it alive? Like, maybe you.
Yeah. So like, I wonder if like, is there a stat thing? Because I was just like, oh, like, what if I want to make some huge gargantuan zombie? Like, that would be a thick death. But like, what's the death part of it actually do? Unless it's purely just like fun. If it could be just very purely themed. Um, I don't know that it is though. Like, I could foresee how much death the thing has in it being like how long it takes to grow from like nascent egg to full thing, and that having some effect. Like, I don't know. Maybe it is just fun. I feel like we have to have this in there though. Like
I was just wondering if we need this.
I I struggle to think about the imagery of this game unless it gets rolled into toxic. I struggle to like have imagery in my head of this game if it doesn't have bloated undead dudes. Um,
Maybe part of the problem is that zombies and toxic are so close to each other.
I I think or it needs to be broader, or it really does need to get nurgly, and it really is about like profusion of like it's like
I agree that
wild.
there's a problem between death and toxic in that they're both kind of hard to differentiate from each other.
I think toxic for me is things that take you to death. Most importantly, marketing. I think that, like, maybe what we're looking at with death, and the main reason I'm like trying to ignore or avoid the Nurgle things, because I got a bunch of freaking Nurgle stuff on my desk and behind me, and like it seems like
I mean, why are you trying to why are you trying to deny?
Because I don't want to make it like I put Nurgle iconography into one game already. But maybe it is just like not rampant growth. No, that doesn't get you to zombies though. Like, oh, Sectrix, don't worry, there's gonna be plenty of tentacles. Plenty of tentacles. Plenty. Maybe.
Yeah, like after
Can you unselect that?
Yeah.
Tentacles.
Cool. Yeah, that's definitely where those go.
Like the idea of like, things that have been changed, like stuff getting dropped out of boats into the water and not being done is like really strong, cool imagery. To put like 8 carts in front of horses, if we were ever going to do this game on the other side above water, you want zombies crawling out of those ponds to scale.
But I mean, but zombies don't have to be dead things. They can be rotten or diseased things. Like like the other way people kind of look at like thinking about magic, right? Like death magic is the part of that whole cycle of things growing, decaying, and feeding the new things. Like that's a very, sort of Gaia way of looking at it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. There is sort of a cycle of life, environmental dimension to all of this, like this whole like fishing arc, right? That we've embarked on here.
I feel like this one is like things like longevity, ever living, like unnatural.
Yeah, cheating. It's like it's about cheating the normal
Yeah.
constraint. Maybe death is not zombies. Maybe death is like ghosty stuff and specter and those kinds of less corporeal things, whereas zombies are toxic.
What is like the term for something that is eternal or approaching that? Death should increase toxicity, kill your chum, and high value fish. That's true. Like, what is the evil version of like live forever? Like that's what I'm saying. Like, you know how like
it's
lichdom.
not immortal, it's undying.
Yeah, maybe it's just undying. There's got to be a good. What's a good word for undying? Mumra the ever living. Like, there's something wrong about shit that lives forever.
Yeah. Yep.
Not that like we're gonna kill your stuff off.
My vocabulary fails me right now, but I think Undying is close enough for us to move
Yeah, let's put Undying in there.
move into the next stuff.
Deep's Mummies, definitely. Just call the game Starkist Undying. It's called Deeps. 5 little words, man.
I'm just thinking about Lich stuff. Phylactery. That's not really.
I wonder what happens when I look up Lich stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Some let's get some vocab help about Lich stuff.
Like the whole like obsession, like mummies, stuff like that. I mean, there's perpetual. Another vastly overused 40k thing.
Perpetual?
Yeah.
Yeah, like there's something greedy about living forever.
Yeah.
Something like just absolutely narcissistic too.
You're going somewhere with that. There's like some traction there.
Narcissistic.
Perfect.
I spelled that right. And then what was it? Oh, it's greedy. Will you just correct this for me? Oh, come on. Okay.
I mean, maybe that's sort of. Well, it starts getting a little like. I don't want to get too esoteric here. I mean, the nice thing is you put a skull on something. And
I mean, this is all for like this isn't. These aren't like player facing. This is just us figuring out what these things are. So
no, I know, but like with all collections of 5 things, one of them is always a little. You know what I mean? Like pelagic is clear.
Rock paper lizard Spock. I think it has to be that way.
I just mean that like it's. I'm not concerned. It's just that like I can feel it out there with my eyes closed. I have like a one hand on it and it's slippery.
Yeah. Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Do we feel confident enough in what we have penciled in for the aspects to start answering a little bit more, putting a little bit more clarity behind the state question? Like how do I know what state a deep is in? What influences the state that will then be imprinted on the new critter when we create it? For example, lunacy, we've said that the higher up, the closer to the surface zone has more lunacy because it can see the moon.
Mm-hmm.
Can we try answering those questions for the others?
Yeah. Oh, this loops back around. So, I think the most old school ever living, death cheating, forbidden knowledge, narcissistic, greedy is down in the basement, right on top of that statue. That's where I'm going with this.
That's
what I think that thing actually is. We just gotta. That's what it is. It's just a term. We got to figure it out.
cool. We could definitely fix the term.
Yep.
Later.
I think Pelagic is flat at all depths. It's almost like a baseline. He who's in the deep. The Deep's Keeper. We'll call him Sectorix.
I think does thickness not scale with the food deployed there?
I think thickness is going to have to be a byproduct of like how you chum. Of like chum volume. Royalties are always welcome. So
Does this just scale with depth? Because the closer you are to the bottom, the closer you are to the undying lord of it all.
I think somewhat it does. Or like I guess what I'm saying is like I
Or
don't
is that is
I,
that like a mistake to use the same? We're like now, yeah. No, I take that back. I think that's a mistake.
I don't think it's linear. I don't think it's like you've got lunacy going one way and undying going this way
Yeah, yeah.
necessarily.
That would be a mistake because now you can never have different matches of those things.
All right, Sectrix. The end and the depth is genuinely hilarious, and I'm going to sneak that quote in here somewhere. Just make a note of it.
Which say the scales of depth.
I could count on you. I do my best work when it's not my own stuff. Yeah, isn't that so true? It's just like, hey, man, I can just sit there and freestyle over something. It's good to go.
Yoink. There we go.
I think if I had to guess, like Undying is probably going to be something that starts very weak, even though it radiates from the bottom or from your statue, and then over overall progress, somehow you're going to turn it up. Or you have the ability to like turn it up. Like if you start with a very mundane setup, and then over time you're making things more freakish, and let's say hook comes down, you send something up, and bam, like the boat gets capsized, and like some evil relic comes down. Now you've got more power or whatever. Like it's got to be like, I think it scales with some type of global progression or collection or something like that. Lunacy might be similar. Like there might be a whole artifacty sort of system in this where like you're turning things up past thresholds by getting things that are aligned with these things and putting them in the right place or the wrong place.
You can put. I mean, okay. We could build systems into the whole hook reward. We could build hook rewards into the game that modulate any of these aspects.
Yeah.
Right. Are we saying that you only get undying through such things?
I'm saying that, yeah.
Okay.
I'm saying it's like the end absolute measure of it. It is weirdness is what it is. Like the weirding way.
Scales with eldritch.
Yeah, eldritch is the word.
Objects. No, what are they called? Dallas.
What I'm saying is that you need to replace undying with eldritch. That's what it is.
Oh.
That's the fucking word, Will.
The most Cthulhu word.
Yeah.
I like that thickness is still in there. And do you think we can ship thickness?
Ship it? Yeah. We might come up with a different word, but we can thickness we could ship.
I'm comfortable shipping this too. I'm going to say hook rewards for now because that's as most specific as we've gotten.
I would say progression.
Okay. Is there a way we can be more specific about that progression right now?
I don't think we want to. You can put more bullets underneath it, I guess.
No, I only want one bullet right now. Toxic.
I think, and this is not 100% a nod to Cruft, that there's going to be some shit that falls off of boats that you just choose where to put it. And based on how much of that stuff.
I'm going to say that it scales with Cruft.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually, well, if it fell off the boat, it's actually jettison. There we go. Roughly came up with it. Okay. It's not bad.
So what that gets us is something that naturally scales with depth. We'll obviously need to scale off of something else as well. But if we have phases of the moon, then it's like it's got a time element to it, where it literally waxes and wanes, which I think is neat. So the game's got a little bit of a pulse there. Thickness is all about my practice of using chumming to influence things. Eldritch is like, hey, I'm a evil, dark existence, and I'm doing this arc of evil things, and it's like overall crazy potency. Toxic is like, hey, I care about where I move stuff, regardless of its depth. It's just like where it actually is. And pelagic is normal fish stuff. Don't forget to add tariffs to the game. That could have been boat Cruft and saved space. Indeed. I am absolutely going to drop that Cruft icon into the water.
Yeah. For it.
Even though the art style will be totally different.
What were you saying about pelagic?
Is that pelagic is the status quo. If it kind of messes with things though. Like I guess I would have to turn. Well, I mean, I think lunacy is like scales with depth, has a pulse. It probably starts at 0. It's like probably times 0 because like the moon is everywhere. Sorry, I'm sort of rambling out loud, but like I have to be able to turn the moon up somehow. I don't know quite how I do that. Pelagic is basically everything is 100% pelagic unless I do one of the other things.
Yeah. Okay. No. All right. I was worried for a minute that it was like not going to play nice with its flat behavior, but it's not really flat. It's just
if I have an if I create an egg, it's like 100% pelagic. If I start chumming stuff like crazy, it has a chance for thickness. If I turn the moon up somehow, it starts going crazy. If played the game for a bit, I can start making it a bit eldritch. If enough boats have gone by, dumping enough stuff in, and I've pulled them all into one of these deeps, and I have stuff going there, then like things are coming out toxic. But in the absence of all that stuff, things are just pelagic. So like, who knows how we'll actually model this? But if every egg has 5 meters, and those meters can total up to 100, and they all go 0 to 100, but like the sum is capped at 100, then like before I've really played it all, everything's just coming out at 100, and then as I influence things, pelagic gets eaten up by other things.
Yeah. Yep.
Which gives us like a nice sort of in between phase where if something was pelagic and thick, it would still look like a bass, but it would be twice as large. We just scale it.
Yep. Yeah. So if I'm starting off and I have a normal zone and I start growing fish and chumming fish, I'm going to get bigger fish.
I don't think, Badger, that it's actually compass. I don't want them to turn into spectrums, but a pentagram isn't exactly correct either, but it sure looks cool as a UI. I do agree though that there's some feeling of like, is pelagic just in the middle? But there is enough cool stuff to be, there's enough reason to keep enough pelagic that I don't think you're just trying to erase it. Like Sectrix falls off a boat and then his progeny has like a tentacle for a left arm, like that's a cool thing. And so I want to make sure that it doesn't, the design doesn't marginalize that kind of combo. These are very the issue here, and it's not bad, is that these are very asymmetrical in a lot of ways, and we're going to force them to bounce with each other a bit.
Oh, okay. I wanted to go back to this. Talked a lot about manipulate and grow, feed and breed. So do you actually is chumming actually selling? Do I get something for chumming, Critter?
I think you do. I
And
think
is that the resource with which I create more primordial goo?
I think it is.
Okay.
There may be some other weird little outputs of it, but I think that's how you make commerce. And then from that goo.
I'm just gonna fix the text here. All right.
Oh, I feel you, Badger. It was very important to actually mentally walk through that based on how you phrased it. A lot of this stuff is like a lot of the value of brainstorming is like making sure, quite often by saying out loud, that you mean the thing that you think you do.
Yeah. I'm often just like saying back to Z what he's saying as a way of making sure that I understand what he's saying.
This is what is so much better designing with multiple people than sitting in a box. Unless you're a crazy auteur, which I am not. It's a lot to process.
We talked about how each influence has a visual effect. Do you want to think about visual effects that will indicate the presence or absence of lunacy, etc.?
Yeah, I mean, lunacy is a bizarre bluish silver glow. It's probably things like bloodshot eyes. It's probably tears. Like I'm going like broader than like just effects, but like in terms of imagery, it's like absolutely extreme, and it's got that like luminous quality to it.
I'm going to put the single visual indicator in parentheses,
Yeah.
and any of the other riffs we'll get to the. Okay, what about how do I know when an object is contributing thickness to my zone?
That one we said. Well, thickness is based on chumming,
Yeah.
so the water gets red.
The all important eldritch aspect.
Is purple death light.
Purple what?
Death light. Whatever that classic
Yeah. The
unlight kind of
black
stuff.
light.
Yeah. Yeah, the black light. Also possible to add 6 in XYZ stats. Yes. Yeah, as soon as you take it off of a compass rose, you just pile stuff in. Which we may. Expansion. Toxic is probably. I see this as like a mix between like fumes and like radiant murk. Like when I drop like when you drop a piece of jewelry into a sonic cleaner and stuff's just like flaking off of it, like that. I don't know exactly how to do that, but like I don't. Obviously, we'll do stuff with like color and just how things are drawn, but I feel like
Yeah, it's throwing off particles.
it's like localized radiation. It's like Pigpen from Charlie Brown.
Sure. And then sticking with sort of pelagics, in inverse default status quo-ness, do we just have nothing for pelagic?
I mean, the stuff that we have in parentheses right now are very much we're sticking with visual effects. I think you're probably right. In this sort of comparison is probably that. I think pelagic is where we're going to get a lot of the purely organic differentiation. If that makes sense.
Are we ever going to throw an object into your pool that increases that stat?
Certainly could.
So then we need some way to tell you what it does. It's probably where I'm. Yeah, that's where my head's at now.
Yep. Yep, you're right. Three question marks in parentheses. Once again, one of the 5 requires, I think, just moving forward and chewing on it a bit. Though Eldritch got solved. Like when we move on to the next thing, we'll go back and be like, of course. Bubbles.
Bubbles. It's totally bubbles. Like normal air bubbles.
Yeah, coming out of fish.
Okay. Cool. We got more detail.
Good. Are you working on this tomorrow?
Yeah. I am working on it. Let me look at my map. The map of my life now.
I'm going to release more coffee and I'll be right back.
I'm not going to stream my calendar, but I am going to look at it. It is
So I think no matter what, um, like to my mind, the very first step of this is even getting a single screen tank with things floating around in it at all to like look and feel cool. I think there's a much bigger leap there than like a fish tank.
I'm not I'm not worried about implementing the environment though. I feel like, and you said this a while back, that like sort of the main thing we'll need to prove out is the pin doll tech.
So, but what I
Being able
mean,
to sort of construct all of these pseudo 2D rigged critters
mhm.
and then put them together Mr. Potato Head style.
What I mean
That's
by
probably the thing I want to start shaking out.
what I mean by a fish tank is a fish tank that's full of things that are built that way. Like just getting
Yeah. Okay.
a fish that has like a head, a body, a fin, and a tail to do anything under that system and look like it's floating around and active is going to be like a leap.
Yeah, yeah. So um I'm thinking that's what I'm thinking I focus on tomorrow afternoon. I looked at my schedule and um I have non-deep stuff in the morning and then all afternoon is deeps.
Yeah, I think like basically in my head the first step is really like a screensaver.
I mean, to me the first step is just one character.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like it's a tank with a character that it has to move around and float, and it has to be made of multiple parts that are pinned together. Um,
Your first step is a lot of steps. Is all I'm saying.
that's what I'm saying is that like this is going to be a lot of, you know, you're like I don't know, you're probably like 85-15 deeps, and I'm probably well 85-15 cruft, and I'm probably 95-5 cruft. But then like as of our 1 week schedule, I just mean how your time is split. Um, and so we got to think about breaking down what that first step is into a way that makes sense because you're gonna
Yeah,
be moving forward more on deeps more and more as Cruft becomes a level design exercise more than anything else.
let's do a new road.
Do we want to just for now work in Miro because that's how we started. Like that's how we. I think that's how we should start. Like in broad terms, like that's how we started the conversation. Not going directly to Doxier. I think like. I mean, obviously, like you want to track stuff, but
Yeah, I'm not trying to rock the boat or anything. I'm just trying to put not like now that I'm going to put 4 hours into deeps.
oh yeah,
I,
you're right.
I've got to put down what I'm going to do and break it down into
Mm-hmm.
tasks so that I can proceed. So let's just do a little bit of that.
Mm-hmm.
Give me 1 sec to make this sheet.
I mean, if you ignore all the difficult details of this, we essentially just like the game's design is pretty much done. The system's design is. Can the thick eldritch critters rock the boat? That's a very good question. You should be able to sink boats eventually. That'd be tight.
All right, turn off this. Turn on this. Yeah, we have a new roadmap.
Sweet.
All right, so like the main goal, like the at the end of all of this, what you want is the there is an aquarium. There are critters floating in the aquarium, right?
Mm-hmm.
In this phase, do we care about different depth levels?
No.
Aquarium has one. What do we care about? Let's talk more about the critter. What do we want the critter to be able to be or do? Is it can it be randomized? Can it be
Nope. I don't think it needs to be.
can it be data driven?
I think that is 100% a you call.
Okay.
I think as you're in it, if you're like, you know what, I just want to drop this. I want to make a critters table. That's not my fucking problem.
It's probably not going to start there then.
Yeah, I know, but like, either way, but the critters gotta have multiple bones.
Yep.
I think it has to. I think for the case of this to really be proven out, there has to be some component of like, I can left or right click and it'll try to get to the cursor. Basically, what it needs is a water state without any influences on it, and it needs some other state that affects it.
So the critter floats.
Yep.
And I can move the critter.
I know.
Like clicking and making the critter swim towards it feels like throwaway work because that's not how the full game is going to work. No.
They're going to swim after the food you drop, and that's going to be where your mouse is.
Okay.
It is very much not moving the critter.
I can click on the screen and the critter.
Let's just make it what it is. I can click the screen, a piece of food drops, the critter will go to it and eat it.
Okay.
And that could just be a dot. Basically, I can drop homing beacons and the thing will try to go get them. Guide with an eldritch hand.
Right. So really it's floats aimlessly. Does it how much does it okay, before we've got any food, does it always stay in the same spot?
It definitely floats aimlessly.
Okay.
It doesn't need to have like a crazy number of behaviors to it, but it cannot be. It is not floating like an inanimate object. It is a living fish.
Okay. There's a critter. I'm just like kind of refining the order we're going to do this stuff. There's a critter. It's going to float aimlessly in the water.
Yep.
It's going to be composed of multiple bones. How do the multiple and then do the bones animate independently, like the arms, legs, fins, etc.? Or do we not do that yet?
I don't know how much depth we need there, but I don't think they can be purely dead limbs. I don't think it needs to look like it's actually swimming. I think.
No, I'm not gonna do that.
Yeah, I think in a lot of cases these things are going to look very comical because it's going to be like a legit pinned together paper doll, and maybe it's just being dragged by, the root bone, and that's it.
Yeah. It'll still be kind of nice though if like the tail trails behind it and that kind of stuff.
Which we'll get naturally someday when we've got a lot of constraints on how much rotation you got on any one of these. Like you'll get that naturally.
So then the bones. So we can start with the bones. We'll still need to animate them somehow.
Yeah, I mean
And
they
then
are
and then
influenced.
later we can do the bones respect constraints.
Yep. So I don't. If in the first pass, this thing is literally like a dead doll that the only locomotion is just it will move its root bone and everything else will just fall. Basically, it's just like a mop going. Bull.
Yeah,
That's fine.
I think that'll be great.
Yeah, it'd be
that'll,
fantastic.
that'll be more than fine. That'll be hard.
It'll be a fucking jellyfish.
Yeah, that'll be most of what we need, anyways, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
okay,
The fish does not leave the screen. I don't know if you care about that much detail, but it definitely can't. That at least gets us like an acceleration test so the thing doesn't fly out of bounds. Yeah, everything else past that is like we don't need to go into life cycle. We don't need to have an egg turn into a critter. We don't need to give it lunacy yet. We just need to get some MFer in the tank.
yep. And then there's a whole bunch of like uh annoying, not annoying, but uh there's like a whole bunch of other code I'm gonna have to write just so that we can get to nothing, right? Um,
What do you mean get to nothing? You mean just have a game that runs?
yeah,
An
just have a
app?
game
Yeah,
that
no,
like
I was
boots
whatever.
up. It,
Mm-hmm.
uh, I mean, I guess we're not loading any data yet, but that's the main thing. Like, depend the stupid dependency injection. I'll need that. What else do I need? This like not game stuff.
I mean, you have to build out um, all the
Oh,
Git BS and
oh yeah, yeah. Oh
all
yeah.
that. Yeah,
Oh, I forgot about all this.
new project BS.
Yeah.
You know what we should do? We should just build it into Cruft and then make
No,
it DLC with some extra button off to the side
no,
that opens it. Yeah.
no.
And all we ever do is work in one repo.
I mean, yeah, we can do that. It could just be a different folder.
It's
I don't think
terrible.
that's gonna help
No, no,
though.
no, 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 no. That was me being me.
Okay.
That was not an actual recommendation.
I mean, yeah, that no. Okay. Oh, logging. That's the other. That's another. It won't take long. It's just thing. Ooh, Sprite cache. Just bring that over. Uh, we don't really need that. Okay. I'm sure I'll think of something else as I get into it.
I mean, once we get this, it's like, yeah, now for however long it takes while we're plowing through getting Cruft to early access and beyond, like just buy an extra screen, just have this little fish tank going. Perfect.
Sweet.
It's gonna be a bit,
Okay.
isn't it?
How long to do all this?
Yeah.
Got 10 minutes left. Let's try it. Not long. I mean, a lot of this stuff I'm just going to pencil in an hour because I'm not really sure how long it'll take to clean it up and bring it over, but it can't be that long. All of this is stuff we already have. I mean, at this stage, the aquarium is just a scene. No,
It's just yeah.
there's nothing to there's
It's
not graphics
it's
really.
a Windows window.
Yeah.
You may want to put 5 minutes in for picking the background color.
Right.
I hope it's blue,
Okay.
which
so,
is the default.
like no time.
Also, no time because there's no other place to go.
So maybe this is like pedantic, but I want there to be a concept of a depth level in there to only be one rather than just no concept whatsoever. This is like code that won't really do anything,
Yep,
but
ship
it'll help me if it exists. And maybe I'll take an hour on it. This is this is the most wild guess.
This is not like this is making sure we don't back ourselves into a corner.
It'll be 2 hours if I put unit tests behind it, and then.
Oh, you're gonna start unit testing things?
I just need to be better about doing.
It's not a criticism. It's not a criticism.
I mean, it kind of sounded like one.
No, I'm
it
proud.
Sounded like a dagger that I haven't been unit testing things enough.
I'm just saying, like, it's a very good sign to just get, like, if we're gonna do this right, let's get unit testing in from inception.
Yeah, like this is gonna be the concept of depth, and the test for it will probably be incredibly dumb, but at least they'll be there. Critters floating in the aquarium. There is a critter object.
I mean,
are we doing MVC again?
MVC
model view controller.
That sounds like a tech question.
I think we are. Because there'll be a game object in Unity. So that's the view. There'll be some sort of orchestration layer that like controls all these things, and then there'll be the data model. So yeah, so really what I need is the critter view to start. There's a critter controller, and then we'll just have fake critter data for now. Data.
I highly recommend you hit the triple dot next to analyze this data.
Why?
Disable data analysis suggestions.
Okay, thank you.
I also get rid of convert to table. Yeah, it's just like ugh.
Yeah, that's annoying.
Don't worry, you can also summarize that table.
I clearly trained myself to ignore all of that.
You know what's segue? Very brief. Google is upping the price of like, enterprise Google Office because they're like, well, we've added Gemini to it or whatever it's called. Like, the price is going up. Like, great. That's all that was. Smoke and mirrors to just raise the price. Anyway. Yeah. Critter floats aimlessly, huh?
Yeah, floating aimlessly will be fun.
I mean, this is what was it, the PD controller thingamadoozle? I mean, pretty perfect for floating.
Yeah, what did I say? Cleanup and port was an hour? I don't think this is going to take that long to port. It's really small script. And then once we have that, this is pretty straightforward. Bounds checking, pretty straightforward. This is like wildly unknown. It's like 8 hours, maybe twice as much. I have no idea.
Is this doc shared with me?
Not yet. I won't do it on stream. I'll do it later.
All right. Oh, that's a good point.
bones float independently? Also wildly unknown. Maybe not as crazy though as rigging it up to begin with. Not 89.8. Bones respect constraints. So this is like probably going to demand like a better, like actual data, critter model data. So we might as well put that in here.
I mean, it could be flat to begin with.
Oh yeah. We just put the oops, add flat constraints to fake data.
I mean, it could be like, everything has got 60 degrees,
Yeah,
is on a shit curve, and that's that.
it's probably not that bad, but I'm not really sure. So it's
Yeah.
1 or 2 hours, and then oh no, adding the constraints is easy.
Is easy. Arbitrating them.
Yeah, that's the one that's hopefully not too bad. Oh, and then okay.
In the input controller.
And we'll fake the food data too.
Oh yeah, no, and right now, yeah, the food is just a thing. It's an object with a location.
I don't think any of this is like that big. Sure. Yeah, now we need an actual. How is everything still tapping on the screen? We talked about how we need like input abstraction layer.
Yep. I don't know that you need to abstract it yet. We don't know enough. I mean, you're welcome to it. It's absolutely your call. Maybe putting the layer in first is fine. There's going to be almost nothing in it, but this is very much
Yeah,
just
it's a little bit of like an anti-pattern to put the abstraction layer and only have one concrete implementation behind it, but I don't want to have a bunch of busy work later on when we actually want.
Are you sure? Because like the busy
No, I'm
work
not
will.
100% sure.
Well, my point here
We'll
is
find
that the busy work is going to be very ill-defined until we figure out what this game is. Your call. I'm fine either way. Absolutely fine either way. I'm so fine either way that I have no desire to give you any input on it.
You know what? We'll just do one, and then we'll put the abstraction there later. This is all pretty straightforward too, but maybe it's 1 or 2 hours. And then, but once I have all that, this is fast. And then this will be kind of fun, but it won't take long.
Yeah, Badger. Like this is a very good, simple starting point. Yeah, so it's like 3 days to a week. It's not bad.
It's not bad. I mean,
there's a lot of swing.
This is alarming here. This needs to be de-risked, one might say.
I mean, honestly, that's probably like there's probably a 2-hour research task ahead of that governs exactly how long that's going to be. But like, there's no point in breaking that up. Like, it's cooked in. But yeah, the point here is that like at the end of this, I can hit play. I get a screen. There's some jiggly ass MFer floating around, and I can drop food in it, which is like it's an aquarium. It short of the jiggly part of it, ignores all the extra like Lovecraftian design around it, which is smart. Um, but it's an application worth opening up, and that's cool.
What is our first critter going to be? What assets am I going to use to rig?
What? Just off the top of your head, what do you think is like to me like some sort of jellyfish makes the most sense because it has a very central root and then it's just shit hanging off of it. But like it doesn't solve any of the like when it's going left it's one thing, when it's going right it's another thing. I don't know.
A fish? Probably
I'm
pretty easy to make a fish.
yep. I don't even think we should make a real fish for this. I think it should just be like I'll just make you some assets, but like you tell me the parts you want to work with to start, and no, I'll just start making fish.
Just
Like,
yeah, just
okay.
slap some. Just
I do.
surprise me.
I do
Have
have
fun.
to. I do have to work through trying to find some sort of art style for this. So I'll make you fish.
I think like something with, well, should it just be should it just be a like a biped? Is it you're gonna need a lot of those?
I'll make a fish.
Okay.
It's an aquarium
A fish with a tail and a fin. That would be pretty simple to rig.
and a head
Yeah.
because the heads need to pop off and go on other things.
Right. Okay.
Quoth Badger. Next step: add multiple critters. How does food interact? Oh yeah, they're like once we get this thing going.
Oh yeah. Once we have one critter, we have infinite critters. Oh, it'll be fun.
Making
We'll
the
be
food do
rolling once we
stuff,
get
adding
past.
different levels. Like, should be good. Should be good.
All right. We made it.
We did make it.
We made it to 4:45.
Not a bad day. Not a bad day. Not a bad stream. Good friends showing up, dropping puns.
Yeah, it's fun having chat.
It is fun having chat. It's good. I feel good about this one. Like, you know, we need to be taking multiple swings at bat. We've got plenty to do with Cruft, but I just don't feel safe with the like there's one project that everybody's hopes and dreams are based on. And it's like even just mentally, just going through the process of talking through all of this crazy stuff and doodle drawing, it's like really keeps your brain from calcifying on one project. And with only two people, juggling two things like this is like no big deal. It's literally there's a thing in the calendar that's just like, today we're going to talk about this on stream. Tomorrow you got X amount of hours booked towards it. It's, you know, Deeps is largely imaginary till it's not. It's not like we're not really splitting brain power all that much.
Yeah, it's getting real. It's got a roadmap spreadsheet now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a lot of reps with being on two code bases at once. I mean, but this is the most structured approach to it I've seen, and that feels like the way to do it. I think it's costly to be context switching all the time, but we're not doing that yet.
Yep.
Cool.
Not too shabby.
All right. I'm hanging up now.
All right, man. Have a good night.
You too.
Folks, thanks for hanging. You can kill the stream as well.